Understanding gender diversity in Southeast Asia requires looking beyond modern Western labels. Historical records suggest that people who did not fit traditional male female roles have existed in the region for centuries. For example, the Chinese traveler Zhou Daguan, who visited the Khmer Empire in the late 13th century, described individuals he called two-formed persons in his account of Angkor. While historians debate exactly what he meant, many interpret this as one of the earliest written observations of gender non-conforming people in the region. Such accounts remind us that gender diversity is not a modern invention, but has deep historical roots across Southeast Asian societies. Fast forward to modern Thailand, and one of the most widely known terms associated with gender diversity is Kathy. However, the way the word is understood today is very different from how it was used historically. Before the 1960s, the term was applied broadly to people who deviated from dominant sexual norms, and in some historical contexts, it even referred to intersex individuals. According to Australian scholar Peter Jackson, the meaning gradually shifted during the mid-20th century to describe males who present themselves in feminine ways, including cross-dressing or adopting female gender roles. Despite its widespread use in media and tourism, many transgender women in Thailand do not prefer the label Kathoi. Studies have shown that many participants instead refer to themselves as Fuying, meaning simply women. This highlights an important point. While outsiders often treat Kathy as a single category, gender identity within Thai society is much more complex and self-defined. Today, the term can refer to people who express femininity in a range of ways. Some dress and live as women and may undergo feminizing medical procedures such as hormone therapy, breast implants, or other gender-affirming treatments. Others may express femininity through speech patterns, mannerisms, or makeup while still dressing in traditionally male clothing. In these cases, their identity may overlap with what Western frameworks might call effeminate gay men rather than transgender women. Over time, Kathy figures have become an iconic and highly visible part of modern Thai culture, appearing in entertainment, media, and public life. But understanding the term requires recognizing how its meaning has evolved historically, how it differs from Western concepts of gender identity, and how the people it describes often prefer to define themselves. Another part of the story that is often hidden behind the bright lights of Thailand's nightlife is the demand that fuels it. Every year, thousands of foreign visitors, many from Europe and other Western countries, travel to Thailand not just for beaches and temples, but specifically seeking sexual encounters. In tourist districts such as Bangkok, Pattaya, and Phuket, entire nightlife economies have developed around this demand, including bars, clubs, and massage parlors where transgender women are highly visible.
I got into this type of work to provide for my family. Not just my parents, but for my grandparents as well. It's important for us to know that we can provide for ourselves. We don't need to rely on anyone else anymore. We make our own money.
For some clients, the attraction lies in curiosity or fantasy shaped by global media portrayals of Thailand's gender-diverse communities. Others seek experiences they feel are less accessible or more stigmatized in their home countries. In many cases, these encounters occur within the broader context of Thailand's long-standing sex tourism industry, which expanded significantly during the late 20th century as international tourism increased. But behind the spectacle and stereotypes are complex personal stories. One transgender woman who initially worked in a beauty salon. Over time, however, she realized the salary wasn't enough to survive. Friends who had already moved into sex work encouraged her to consider it as well. Eventually, facing financial pressure, she made the transition. First major research efforts to examine the realities faced by transgender sex workers in Thailand. Based on 60 interviews, the study revealed a far more difficult reality than the glamorous image often presented to tourists. Researchers found that 81% of those interviewed entered sex work primarily because of financial desperation rather than choice or opportunity. The research also highlighted the serious risks involved. Transgender sex workers were found to be particularly vulnerable to violence and exploitation. 2/3 of those interviewed reported experiencing sexual violence within the previous year, and 1 in 4 said they had been R-worded. These findings reveal a level of danger that is rarely acknowledged in the tourist narratives surrounding Thailand's nightlife.
He offered to pay for my time, which is normal where I was working. But later in the night, his behavior started to change. When we were alone, he became aggressive and stopped listening when I told him I was uncomfortable. I tried to leave, but in that moment, I felt trapped and very scared because the situation was no longer under my control.
It is also important to understand that the challenges faced by transgender sex workers are connected to broader social conditions. Although Thailand is often portrayed internationally as an LGBTQ-friendly destination, many transgender people say the reality is more complicated. While visibility in entertainment and tourism may give the impression of acceptance, members of the trans community often describe their position in society as one of tolerance rather than true equality. Compared with some neighboring countries where LGBTQ people face severe legal penalties, Thailand may appear relatively open. However, transgender individuals still encounter discrimination in employment, education, and legal recognition. For many, limited job opportunities push them toward industries such as entertainment and sex work, where gender expression is more visible, but where protection and safety are far less certain. Violence against transgender women in Thailand is not only a statistical reality documented in research, it has also appeared in several high-profile criminal cases. In one widely reported incident in Pattaya, a Chinese tourist was arrested after the killing of a 25-year-old transgender woman named Waranan Panacha. According to police reports, the suspect had met her near South Pattaya beach, and the two exchanged contacts before later meeting at his rented room. Investigators said the meeting was arranged as a paid encounter. Authorities reported that an argument broke out when the victim refused to continue with the encounter, and the suspect demanded part of the payment back. The situation escalated into a violent confrontation, which ultimately led to her death. The suspect later attempted to leave Thailand, but was arrested at Bangkok's main international airport before boarding the flight out of the country. Cases like this illustrate the dangers faced by many transgender women working in nightlife and sex economies. Researchers and human rights organizations have repeatedly noted that transgender people in Thailand are often placed in vulnerable situations where financial pressure, discrimination in other industries, and limited legal protections increase their exposure to violence. While Thailand is often portrayed internationally as a welcoming destination for gender diversity, incidents like this reveal a much more complicated reality, one where visibility does not always translate into safety. As we reach the end of this discussion, it's important to make one thing clear. This video is not meant to discourage anyone from visiting Thailand. Thailand remains one of the most beautiful, culturally rich, and welcoming destinations in the world, attracting millions of visitors every year for its history, food, landscapes, and vibrant cities. The purpose of this video is simply to raise awareness about realities that often exist beneath the surface of tourism. Behind the nightlife, entertainment districts, and media portrayals are real people navigating economic pressure, social stigma, and sometimes dangerous situations. Understanding these underlying issues helps us see the human side of places we visit. It reminds us that tourism doesn't exist in isolation from society, and that the choices visitors make can have real impacts on the lives of others. So if there is one takeaway from this video, it is this: travel with awareness, travel with respect, and remember that every person you encounter, no matter their job or background, deserves dignity and humanity. Thailand is far more than the stereotypes often shown online, and by understanding its complexities, we can appreciate the country in a deeper, more respectful way.